chance to be heard past my spell now. Let me hear you loud, crowd. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Wake up. No time for sleeping on the issues. This is neutral voices. We gon' deal with the issues. Wake up. This is neutral voices. We gon' deal with the issues. Your voice matters. Your thoughts count. Your opinion's important, so you gotta speak out. Don't let your chance to be heard pass my spell now. Let me hear you loud, crowd. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Wake up. No time for sleeping on the issues. This is neutral voices. We gon' deal with the issues. Wake up. This is neutral voices. We gon' deal with the issues. Your voice matters. Your thoughts count. Your opinion's important, so you gotta speak out. Don't let your chance to be heard pass my spell now. Let me hear you loud, crowd. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Wake up. No time for sleeping on the issues. This is neutral voices. We gon' deal with the issues. Wake up. This is neutral voices. We gon' deal with the issues. Your voice matters. Your thoughts count. Your opinion's important, so you gotta speak out. Don't let your chance to be heard pass my spell now. Let me hear you loud, crowd. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Shout it out real loud. This is neutral voices. We gon' deal with the issues. Your voice matters. Your thoughts count. Your opinion's important, so you gotta speak out.
Hey, welcome to Neutral Voices tonight, where your voice matters. I'm Deshawn Moore, and I'm so glad to be hanging out with you. Listen, before we go any further, I need you to do what you do best. Share and like this video. We have something to say, and it's going to be all the way live tonight. I'm here with the crew, and I'm so excited.
Hey, what's happening?
Yes,
How
don't they
you doing,
look
Lady Moore?
amazing?
Just like you. honey.
Thank you, just
Yes.
like you, honey. Baby girl, baby boys. How was your day today?
Stressful.
Stressful.
Ditto. I'll take up the whole 45 minutes.
Yeah, right. It's okay. Well, we're going to de-stress
Yes,
tonight.
that's
We
right.
have some issues we're going to talk about, and we want you to join in on us. So again, before we go any further, like and share. We have a video before we get started. We want you to check it out. So right now, check it out, and we'll be right back.
Guinea, garlic bread, pizza slinging, spaghetti bending, Victor Mon, Perry Como, Luciano Pavarotti, solo meal, non-singer.
You gold teeth, gold chain wearing, fried chicken and biscuit eating, monkey ate baboon, big thigh, fast running, high jumping, spear chucking, 360-degree basketball dunking, titsoon, spade, mullignan.
Little slanty-eyed, me no speaky American, own every fruit and vegetable stand in New York. Bullshit Reverend Sun Young Moon, Summer Olympic 88 Korean kickboxing sabara.
You Goya bean eating, 15 in a car, 30 in an apartment, pointy shoes, red wearing, menudo, meter, Puerto Rican fucker. Yeah, you.
It's cheap. I got good price for you. Near catchy. How I'm doing? Chocolate egg cream drinking, bagel and lots, banana for this Jew asshole.
Yo! Hold up! Time out! Time out! Y'all take a chill. You need to cool that out. And that's the double truth.
Guinea, garlic bread, pizza slinging.
Man. that
All
was
right,
a
all
great
right.
hit.
Woo, Spike Lee. I must say I've had the opportunity to work with Spike Lee, and he is so passionate about his platform. However, he brings it. Today, we're going to start off by talking about stereotypes. Listen, we all have them, and it's almost natural because some things that have been implanted or planted in our minds. However, they can change. We're going to talk about them because there's a lot of stereotypes out there.
Right.
Let's talk about it because sometimes we can prejudge someone based on their social economic status, their color. Sometimes we can be right, sometimes we can be wrong.
Yes,
Stereotyping is wrong in the sense that we don't have the right to judge.
Right.
You have to get to
Exactly.
know someone. Don't
right.
judge me because I'm chocolate. You think I'm gonna melt? I might not melt in your hand. Okay, let's go at it. Let's go at it.
Well, in reference to that video, I'm talking about that's a whole lot of cultural profiling, individual profiling,
Yes.
racial.
Thank
I
you.
mean, that's like everything going on.
It's
in that
everything.
video.
It's a bit much.
Yeah,
Miss V.
it was a lot, but it's truthful.
The truth hurts.
And that's what I was gonna say. And you mentioned Spike Lee, and I believe that's one of the things he's definitely known for is speaking the truth and being very transparent.
Absolutely.
So I can say I've heard a few of those things, and I do agree that everybody deals with stereotyping.
Yeah.
You know, a few people I've heard, just doing my little personal research and survey. I like to do that sometimes when we're talking about certain things. And, I did hear a few people say, I never stereotype. And then I began to break down different, times that I believe everybody may stereotype.
Right, I agree.
Because,
I think it's completely
you remember
natural.
when the sniper was shooting people and killing
DC?
people on the DC sniper.
Yes.
And,
We all said he was white. Yes, we did. We all
That
said he
type
was
of
white.
thing,
Yeah.
people, you hear a certain crime, especially in a certain area, then you start trying to figure out, okay, I'm waiting on this one. I know what color. I know what, people do that.
The bad part is, in my opinion, is, when I think of stereotypes, I think of pictures that we put in our heads that help us to navigate life. So sometimes, a lot of times, those pictures that we have in our head were placed there by other things. We are coached in many aspects to fear people we've never met, or to look at certain situations or certain races as a threat, even though we've never had any kind of, situation with that person. So a lot of stereotyping is natural, but there is some stereotyping, in my opinion, that is planted for a purpose.
Well, do you think? Go ahead. Do you think the media plays a major part in that?
Huge.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, Jill, I don't think that it's natural. I think it's more environmental. Reason I don't think it's natural because we're not born with the thought of difference. If you watch that video, and Mrs. Moore touched on it, and Doc V talked about it, but you look at it, it started out with a black man. He gave the stereotypes when he was talking to the Italian man. It was like a chain of events. 90% of stereotypes come from some kind of prejudice, as Mrs. Moore said. We prejudge somebody or something. So 90% of our stereotypes come from our prejudice. Had we not had those prejudices, we wouldn't have those stereotypes because you hear all the things that they said. He talked about the Italians eating spaghetti and things like that. We stereotype cultures, we stereotype finances and things like that. So I don't believe it's natural, but I do believe that it's environmental. We're taught it by what we're surrounded by.
Do you believe that fight or flight is something that is embedded?
Fight or flight is natural.
So when I say natural, I'm saying fight or flight. You have to have a reaction to a certain situation. So if I have a stereotype that is placed in my head per se by the media wants me to fear something. When I run across that something or someone, I'm going to fight or flight based on that perception that has been put in my head. So not all stereotyping is intentional, but if you think about just your day to day, almost all of us have probably done it. And it, it didn't have to be something that was intentional or hurtful. I can think of several times today that I myself stereotyped someone.
So,
when you say that real quick, I just want to hit this because she just talked about something that's real, I think is real. The turbans getting on the airplane. Yeah, I'm just saying. So a lot of people, they start be like, no, they are not even Arabs.
Right.
I mean, you just see somebody with a turban,
Right.
and you automatically start saying, wait a minute.
I'm going to let E finish and then I'm
What's
going to tell
going
you
on?
my
Perfect
stereotype.
example.
Well,
so that
You
goes
said
with what
something
you're
in
saying.
your statement, Jill. You said reaction. There's a difference between responding and react.
Mhm.
So when you react, you just go.
Mhm.
You don't even have time to think.
Right.
So how about instead of reacting, how about responding? Meaning, let me think about what I'm about to say and what I'm about to do in this situation.
Or even metacognition. Let me think about what I'm thinking about.
Right.
Let me think on my thoughts.
Before
and that may
I'm-
help me not
Underst-
stereotype
Right.
in this particular situation.
Yeah, I want to get to an important point because a lot of times, because we have not been raised around certain races, and I've actually had some of my Caucasian brothers and sisters say, I haven't been raised around a lot of African Americans, so only what I see in the media or what I perceive them to be based on the entertainment industry, media, what I've been told, that's what I prejudge them on. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So information and platforms like this is so important
So
to
important.
expose different, just the right information, put the right information about us out there, because
right.
so many times you can see our, if you see someone with their pants pulled down and their hat back, that doesn't mean they're uneducated. That's what
That's true.
culture told you.
Yes.
Right.
But I've seen dudes who they doing it, but they're highly educated. They're part of the divine nine, honey. They're sagging, but they're highly educated.
right.
So I mean, that's an extreme example, but we do that. We look at those and say, oh, he's a thug.
That's right.
He's nobody. But
Absolutely.
we can
And we do it to ourselves in our own culture.
and that's what I want to hit on too. Because
and so what I want to say real quick is the definition, sort of, kind of, because I put my little spin on stuff. We could do that, neutral voices. But a fixed image or idea of a particular type of person, culture, or thing. And so simplify is your generalization of somebody and their behavior.
yeah.
Right.
And so and that's why I say we all do it. So when I was telling the person you're guilty too, meaning a lot of people see a pit bull, they go the opposite direction.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you have already stereotyped
That
even
pit bull.
the animals or dogs. You just feel like they're going to do
Sure,
certain things
sure.
Absolutely.
based off of maybe media,
Right.
just like, for instance, Africa. I used to hear Africa or think about Africa, and I never wanted to visit Africa
'Cause it
because
looks so
I'm
poor.
thinking about the jungle.
Right.
I'm just saying, because when you watch TV, a lot of times
They only
that's
show
the
that
part of
one
Africa
side.
they were showing.
Yeah,
Right.
and I'm greedy, Miss V. So I'm like, I gotta have food. So they're showing all these kids that are not eating, but these kids are beautiful. They're royalty. Africa is beautiful.
Exactly.
But here's what we have shown,
And we bought
Yeah.
into
and we
it.
bought into the lie.
That's it.
And I'm glad you brought up what you brought up about white people. I found some information. 75% of white Americans report having social media networks that are comprised of entirely white people with little to no minority presence.
Yeah.
So this lack of relationships, meaningful relationships, acquaintance relationships with people of color means that what the media depicts carries a lot of weight as far as how people look at different communities that they have never been around. It's absolutely huge. You've heard me say before that I grew up in an all-white community. It still is today. Zero diversity. Sometimes you have to pick up a book. Sometimes you have to,
Have a conversation.
exactly get to
Absolutely.
know people.
Yes,
Otherwise,
that's
you are
important.
going to be taught things that are untrue because it's all that you have to grasp onto. But 75% of white Americans, I mean, that's
Wow,
that's
that's
a lot
huge.
of people
It is.
who have no minorities as far as their social networking goes.
I like to know
Yeah.
the date of that statistic.
It was
because-
2019 from the PRRI American Values Study.
And see, it's really probably 95%. No, just kidding.
Right, right.
See, there you go,
Right.
stereotyping.
Yeah.
There you go, stereotyping.
I'm just saying, because all I can go by is my day to day,
Yeah.
But when you say that, Jill, and I mentioned conversation, because a lot of times that's the only thing that they're studying is a book.
Yeah.
They're researching us. They're looking in a book. They're watching movies. They are watching. Who am I talking about? White people, white America, other cultures are watching movies about Black people.
And look how
Because they don't know how to approach us. Guess what? Because they stereotype us because we be talking like this, or we may be talking like this, and we
Yeah.
come off aggressive when that's just, we just
That's culture.
what it do. We
Yes.
don't mean any harm. but
Well,
that's
and look
why
how
they
the
watch
media
that way.
depicts the Black family. When you say that, that white people are watching movies to find out how, Black America or the culture operates, that's not going to be accurate information either. Because
Definitely, but guess what? I went to
Definitely.
see Shaft, and guess who was in there? Field. It was probably like 5
Mhm.
Black people.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, okay, did I walk into the wrong? And then I'm like, oh no, this is Shaft. When it first came, I was really surprised, but then I wasn't, because maybe this is what they rely on, because they don't know how to come to you face to face and have an intelligent conversation.
Right.
And that's
Well,
what
a
we
lot
need
of
to
them
do
don't-
more of. We are approachable.
A lot
Yeah.
of them don't feel that we're intelligent. I mean,
Yeah.
I to tell you that from experience.
Mhm.
They look at me, my hat turned to the back,
Mhm.
and he's nah, bro. I have a bachelor's degree. I'm sorry. We can have a whole conversation about anything you want to talk about,
Mhm.
and sports, from sports to politics to church. We can talk about it. I have no problem with it. But they look at me because of the simple fact, oh, he have his hat turned to the
Hat
back,
to the back, and you may be using slang
slang,
language.
and
Yeah.
my
All of
swag
that,
or
all of
whatever.
Let's talk about that because have we done that to ourselves, Eric? I'm just asking because what I know that we have to do in the African American community because there are these stereotypes.
Mhm.
It is. I have made it a point to be better, to tell my nieces and nephews that's out there. This mindset is out there about you.
That's it.
So because it's out there,
Yes.
let's be better. So I think that we are going to have to create even more. We should have to, but we're
But
going to have to
you're right.
create a community that where we are better. We're raising our young people to be better, to value
Yes.
themselves, to be worthy because it's already out there.
And guess how
So-
we can start? And then I'll let Clarence have it.
Yes.
But one of the ways we can start is how we name our children.
Oh yes,
I'm
That's
just saying. I just
interesting.
had my orientation yesterday. Don't y'all listen.
Mhm.
But some of the names, I'm thinking this is not going to be good. We put too
Yeah.
many Q's and Z's and S's in these names. And,
Yeah.
when it's time to get a job, I'm sorry. The
Yeah.
stereotyping is going to
Wow.
and can hurt you.
Yeah.
So we can start with that. So I
Mhm,
agree with
mhm.
you 100%.
Well, let's go
I,
ahead.
I,
Ms. Cruz.
I want to agree with you, Sister Laura, when you say we have to ourselves build a community where we get out of the stereotyping of ourselves. But I'm gonna flip the coin. Doc V, a lot of times play the devil advocate, but I'm gonna flip the coin because if you ask 30 to 40% of white people why do they have these stereotypes, it's for personal safety. They believe that they have to live up these stereotypes for their own safety. They're teaching their children these stereotypes for their personal safety because they don't want, like as Doc V said, the guy with the turban. After 9/11, how many of us got on airplanes and we checked every man that had a turban? Or we wanted to switch our flights when we saw a man with a turban. I used to even joke, and I stereotype. I used to joke. It could be me, Jose, and Ahmad walking in the airport. That's the only time I'm gonna feel safe because they're not gonna stop me. They're gonna stop Jose and Ahmad before they get to me because I'm the least threatening of the three. So we all have done it, and so I think a lot of people, for safety reasons, keep those stereotypes. Not saying it is right, but I'm saying a lot of people, other cultures, keep it for. That's why people don't go to Africa. That's why people don't go to the Middle East.
That's true.
You know,
Real
Well,
quick, isn't there a good
yeah,
time to do some?
yeah, we about to have a video.
Yeah, we're gonna do the
Okay.
video, but before I lose this thought, real quick, based on what you just said, isn't there a good time to stereotype? And I'm just thinking is, like for a when you're trying to find a serial killer, or when certain
Yes.
things you start looking at
Yes.
certain people's
Traits,
actions and
yes,
traits
yes.
and their habits and things like that. I was gonna say that was just one of the things that kind of popped in my head right there. So good times
So
to
that-
stereotype.
To know why are men not providing.
Ooh, I can answer this question for you. I think the problem is men are expected to remain the same. Men back then and still to this day are still expected to be protectors, providers, take care of the home, bring home.
AI movies, don't you?
Or you trying to find a
However, women have
perpetrator in
changed
your
drastically.
community,
Yeah.
and then people tell you the same thing. Then you start watching for
No.
certain people actions. But that is one of the things that they
I
do.
mean, you
I,
have to-
I can wholeheartedly agree with that, Doc V. But even though if we're purposely and protectively stereotyping, think about it. We are always looking for the negative, and most stereotypes have a negative connotation to it. As respectful as you stating it, I wholeheartedly agree with you. But what do us telling? Look for somebody that's dirty, shafty. They give the most negative
Mhm.
traits or possibilities in those
Mhm.
stereotypes, and I think that's
Do you think it's
purposeful.
because that's what people remember the most?
Yes, I think it's
I'm just saying
purposeful.
in certain
And it keeps us on
situations,
edge. It
and
keeps us
that's
on
why
edge.
the truth is I don't believe there's no absolute to that. I think the video is ready.
A second. What? Pino, who's your favorite basketball player?
Magic Johnson.
Who's your favorite movie
stereotypical to assume that all or most white people are racist. And the reason that I'm asking this question is because you said that, or several people said, that the reason a white person does not approach you to get to know you better is because your hat is turned the other way around, or because of stereotypes. However, did you ever think that, especially now in 2021, when everybody thinks that all white people are hateful and racist and that they're already stereotyping you, that I would feel comfortable walking up to you to start a conversation, knowing that you also have these, these stereotypes about me?
No, fundamentally, I don't believe everyone is anything.
But I mean, isn't it stereotyping to
yes,
assume
yes,
that the
yes.
reason I'm not starting a conversation
Yes.
is because when really there are a lot of good white people, because
Yes.
I'm one of them and I grew up with a lot of them,
Yeah.
that really are apprehensive right now to have conversations with you? Has nothing to do with the stereotypes or the way that you look, but it's already because I assume that you hate me and you think that I am racist.
Well,
A lot stops right there.
yeah, I agree
And
with
we
that.
all don't feel that same because
but-
I
Right.
love you to
But
pieces.
if you listen to your statement,
Yeah.
that was a whole bunch of stereotypings within that whole thing.
Right, but
I
and
don't
that's what I'm
approach you for
saying.
the stereotype. You don't approach me for the stereotype. Until we get past that, yes, I wholeheartedly agree.
Right. And even myself, I'm comfortable around all races. But even today, I am uncomfortable because I already feel like I am being prejudged as somebody who is a racist.
Right.
So it's very hard right now. It's hard to be unified when we are told to be divided.
Are we ready?
So you said when you moving out throughout the day.
Yeah, oh,
feel
absolutely.
that?
Absolutely.
We're gonna try this again. Mookie was one of my favorite characters of all Spike Lee.
What? Pino, who's your favorite basketball player?
Magic Johnson.
Who's your favorite movie star?
Eddie Murphy.
Who's your favorite rock star? Prince. You're a Prince fan.
Boss, Bruce.
Prince.
Bruce.
Pino, all you ever talk about is nigga this and nigga that. And all your favorite people are so-called niggas.
It's different. Magic, Eddie, Prince are not niggas. I mean, they're not black. I mean, let me explain myself. They're not really black. I mean, they're black, but they're not really black. They're more than black. It's different.
It's different.
Yeah, to me, it's different.
Pino, deep down inside, I think you wish you were black.
Get the fuck out of here.
Laugh if you want to. You know, your hair is kinkier than mine. What does that mean? And you know what they say about dark Italians?
You know?
Wow.
I've been
Wow.
Wow.
That's
can I
go ahead.
Yes,
go ahead.
please.
Go ahead.
Yes, please.
That was okay. He said they're not black. Magic Johnson, Eddie Murphy, his favorite stars and actors and basketball player, they're not black. And he couldn't explain why he don't think they're not black. Only reason he think they're not black because they have money. So that's
Well,
I mean that was that I
Or
mean
because
that's out.
Or
You
the
see 'em up
term
there.
relatable black people.
Yes.
Yes.
We are those who, we can fit in. They'll talk to us because we're not black. We don't talk like typical black people. We
They
don't
have
walk
money.
like black people.
They money talks.
typical. So that's a stereotype
Mhm.
there to some Caucasians who feel like I can deal with you because you're not that black so-called
Yeah.
thug. You're not that.
Right.
You're that
Right.
other. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah.
So that's
In
that's-
fact-
that-
well, see, here's the other thing. You can
Go ahead.
only go by. You can only when you're dealing with people like stars like that. You can only go by what you see on TV because you
Well,
don't
Ben
know them.
Carson. I mean, some white people see him on a different level.
He
Some
has,
black people
once
see him
again,
on a
he
different
has
level,
money.
too.
Black too.
Exactly.
That's the
I
thing.
know.
He has money. They have money, so they don't feel that they're out there black because they have money. They money does. They see the money. Their money talks for them.
Yeah.
So they could come across any type of way, but it's okay for them because they have
the
money.
money.
Clarence
That's the
works in a
privilege.
professional
That's the privilege.
setting.
Cash privilege.
And I know Clarence has shared something with us before. Would you mind sharing that little, and you know where I'm going with this as far as your speaking and what someone said to you at some point?
Yeah. Well,
He talks proper.
yeah. I was told one time I worked at a contracted agency for the state, and I called this person to set up an interview with them. But when I ended up going to the interview with them, they were expecting somebody else. They said, "You're not the person that called me on the phone." And I said, "Yeah, I called you on the phone." And she said, "But you're black." I was like, "Yeah." She said, "Well, you didn't sound black on the phone." And as Eric was saying, and as
Who says
yeah,
that?
and First Lady was saying, a lot of people. She said, and I love that term, "plateable black people." I love that term. It's how we can be presented. And E is right at some, because some people got mad because LeBron James said people spray painted the N word on his garage. They say he should not be offended because he's too rich to be that N word. So at some point, they think that black people do become more presentable in prestige and power politics or whatever. So they become plateable, as Sister Moore said. But you got to think of the media overall. There was a time, and we as people, as Miss Moore stated earlier, we have to stop living in these stereotypes. In the 70s, black exploitation movies were made by black people, but they gave the most hideous stereotypes of black people that could ever, and I'm guilty of it. I love The Mac. If you're one of my most favorite movies ever, The Mac, and Goldie was the epitome of a stereotype. But think about it. When I was 8, when I saw The Mac, I wanted to be Goldie. I still want a 72 Gold Eldorado just because I saw that movie. But I wanted to be Goldie. So those stereotypes began, and we began to accept those stereotypes. Think about it in our music and our media and some of the things. It's getting better, but for a long time, we placated those same stereotypes.
Okay, let's move into something really quick. I have a question because Clarence talked about history. 67 years ago, actually May the 17th, a landmark unanimous decision was made. It was the Brown versus the Board of Education, separating black and white children. So was integration a good thing or a bad thing for Black America?
Bad.
Okay.
It was bad.
Bad.
I'd say it was bad.
I think it was bad in the form or the context of no one has a right to choose or control where I go, what I do.
Right.
In a way, some people would say that wasn't good for us because we lost our identity. We lost a lot. So let's talk about that.
Go ahead,
which one of y'all want to go first?
I think, and I just have something just brief to say, is I think that it was bad because the black culture almost gave up ownership in exchange for something that they, it's hard for me to speak on, but in my opinion, a lot of black businesses went under because when you are allowed to now shop or support a white business or other cultures, you are almost feel excited or privileged to be able to do so. So a lot of those businesses, the black businesses, went under. So I do feel like the black community gave up their ownership for, to trade freedom, which never really, we still, segregation, it's still an issue today. So I think it was a bad move altogether, but I don't think a lot of people felt like it was at that time. It was almost celebrated.
I heard this sermon today when I was at the gym, Jamal Bryant, and he talked about Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he really broke it down, and he honestly said the people of Tulsa, Oklahoma died. If they were to come back to life right now, they would be ashamed of our culture, because the simple fact that they fought and they built their own community. And we gave it up without dying for it.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. Black unity across America, is it possible? We've been through so much. We know our history, but sometimes we want to repeat history. And let's be real. Some of us, we still haven't gotten the concept of helping one another. Regardless of what this world does, we have to be there for one another.
Right.
Is it possible?
With God, anything is possible. But is it plausible? Because we are man, I don't believe so. Because no matter how Mrs. Moore, you lead upright and you do all of that, I'm going to find a way to find a fault in you. I'm going to find a way to not trust you. I'm going to find a way not to unite with you.
Where
And
did
then
that
I'm
come
gonna
from,
start-
Clarence? The root of that. There's a root to that. Why don't we
That-
trust
that's the
each
Willie
other? Why
Lynch
don't
syndrome.
we?
That's the Willie Lynch syndrome. And the house versus the field, all of that.
Way from back then.
Okay.
Yeah. So a little technical
Yeah, we
difficulty
have
there.
that. Go ahead.
Yes.
Somebody can pick that up. Go ahead. You pick it up.
Well, you were saying that it started from the Willie Lynch, I'll say, era, since there's people that believe that that's a false letter, etc. I don't know, wouldn't know the facts on it, but I do get that, and yes, like the what they call the paper sack test, and if you were darker than the brown paper bag, you were going out in the field. If you were the light, you were going in the house. That caused problems back then.
Wow.
And that same thing still happens today. So they had certain things. If you didn't pass the test, you
was hit.
You going in the field to work.
Don't
So-
we do that, Miss V, to each other sometimes? If you, especially back in the 80s and the 90s, it was the light skin.
That
against
light
the-
skin-
I didn't
Light
think that
skin
I
is
could
out.
pledge for AKA because I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. Not stereotyping the South, but it was huge back then. So if you were lighter skinned, you couldn't really be
That's right.
a part of a certain sorority. I
Yeah.
mean, and I'm not stereotyping sororities, they are amazing and it's different, but that mindset was there.
Was
I
it-
didn't
Oh,
think that I could do a
you
lot
thinking of
because
school
I'm a
days.
dark skin.
Yeah, I was just
This
getting ready
is
to say,
school
well, Spike
days.
Lee, he put it in the movie.
It's
He put it
school
right out
days.
there.
Wow.
This is new to me. I've
Oh,
literally never
Hold
heard
on,
that.
Hold on. Now, I
wow,
went to
Jill.
HBCU and she's preaching the gospel right now.
I'm preaching
if,
it.
If you wasn't light skinned, you were not
So
an
even
AKA or a
within
Delta.
the
Yeah.
culture,
No,
within
the culture.
your own
Yeah.
culture.
Well,
Within
it,
their own
it
culture,
has
but we didn't
changed now.
start it.
Yeah, we didn't start
It
it.
has changed now, but yeah, she preaching the gospel. If you wasn't light skinned, you wasn't an AKA or a
But
Delta.
the truth is, so one of the things, the question was, where did it come from
Yeah,
for
there's a
real?
root of
Like
it.
there's a root.
Because
so
you
when
had
we
your-
go all the way back.
You had your house Negroes,
Right, that's
and you had
right.
the field
And so-
Negroes.
Yeah.
And
So
then
what
the house
happened with that?
the house felt like they was better than the field because they got to sleep in the house with Massa. And, if you watch the Django, Master, we sick, Master, we don't feel good. You know what I'm saying? And then you got your guys, you got
That
your
was
boy,
it, HNIC.
yeah, you got your boys in the field. Like, hey, you just like us. Why you? But once again.
Okay,
it was
so why can't we snap out of it? I mean,
Because
wake up,
it's-
people, wake up. We're not back there.
Why can't we snap out of a lot of things? Like, why can't we snap back into being a unit?
I know, but we
You know what I'm
should
saying?
realize that segregation was really so that the I'll say white people could maintain their economic status.
Correct.
But it was,
Honestly.
absolutely.
And it's
so-
and to this day, it's still the same
and
way.
it gave birth, and it keeps giving birth to white privilege. And I'm saying, but we see it, we understand it. So why don't we wake up and come together and love one another and support each other?
That's a
Light,
good
dark,
point.
in between. I mean, all this interracial mixing and marriages. How can we still be against one another because of the shade of our
Yeah.
skin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So
Right.
if you
That's
say,
what we
is
are.
unity possible? I'm still doing like this.
Yeah.
My dad used to say, what does that mean?
Mhm, mhm.
I don't
Right,
know.
Right.
You know,
Eric?
I hope so.
I think unity is
I hope
possible. Is
so.
possible. I really do. I mean, it takes. You have to be the change you want to see,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest
Yes.
thing. So
true.
I have to change if I want to see change.
Your mindset.
Yeah, I have to
Yeah.
change my mindset.
You
So,
do.
and that's the biggest thing.
You
I
do.
can't expect for you to have changed mindset if mine is not
Absolutely.
changed. So I think it can happen, but
So-
each person have to have that change of mindset.
Prayerfully. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we just have to keep praying and believing.
Yeah. Let's delve into
Hoping.
this. Is white privilege real? Is that something?
Jill, you
that's-
gonna answer that
You
question?
know,
Go
Eric,
ahead.
Eric,
shoot.
you're white. Answer the question. No,
out of all of
Today
the,
we are white.
I will call them debates, out of all the debates that I have with other people, especially a lot of white people coming at me who say that white privilege is a myth, I ask them this. So, as a white parent, do you need to educate your child about them being treated in a different way because of the color of their skin? Do you fear that your child will not come home from school because they are, they get shot because they have on a hoodie, or they're maybe, swipe a Snickers bar from the gas station? Do you fear that they're going to get shot because of the color of their skin? When you are pulled over, do you instantly fear for your life because of the color of your skin? White privilege is recognizing your privilege. It doesn't mean that as a white person you haven't struggled. It does not mean that your life has been easy.
Correct.
It means that people from the Black community, the Black culture, have had to overcome obstacles that have never been put in your way. So a lot of people get offended when you speak of white privilege. White privilege does not discount white suffering. I have worked hard. I have suffered. I have been through a lot, but I also recognize my privilege.
Can I get that card?
I think that was a
Yeah.
perfect.
I want a
perfectly
privilege
said.
card.
Perfectly
Can I
said,
work
Jill.
it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean that is something that I don't.
It's not your fault.
And see, white people take it as a blame. Nobody's blaming white
Right,
people
correct.
for white privilege.
But Jill, now I think I asked you this before. It may not be your fault, but I'm saying, but you know it exists, right?
Right.
Do you use it? Do you play the white card?
Even if we
Would
don't
you-
use it,
I'm
other
saying, but
people
have
use
you?
it for us.
Okay. So
Other
that's what
people
I
use
wanted
it
to
for
know.
us. You know, but at
What
this
do you tell your daughter about the white privilege and about that whole thing?
Well, I mean, Macy, because we've talked about white privilege on the set, so I do discuss that with her. I mean, she is well aware of her privilege. She does go to Leo. There is not a lot of diversity in Leo. So I educate my daughter about diversity. I don't have to educate my daughter about getting shot because she's Black. I don't have to educate her about, being treated different because of her skin. I talk to her about bullies of all colors. So there are things as a white parent that I don't have to do because my daughter's skin is white. That is white privilege.
Right.
It exists. It's real. It's there.
And you tell her don't wave that in people's face,
Right.
Because you didn't buy it. It
Right.
just happened.
It just is. The minute you are born and you are white, you have that privilege. It's nothing that you've asked for. It's nothing that you've earned. It is nothing. It is something that will be on your back because you are white simply.
Have you ever met a white person, and I know this person personally, that do not want the white card? They do not want the white privilege. They pretend that they don't live in a gated community and they just live their life. Do you know anybody like that to actually get to the, I would love to know the why.
I don't offhand. I'm sure they exist, but I surely wouldn't want to be associated with any of them. To be quite honest, but there are some people who say, "Oh, I work for everything." Nobody said that you don't work for what you have.
Right.
That is not. It's like if you start a race, but one person has hurdles in front of them that they have to jump over, the other person doesn't. Whose race is going to be easier? It has nothing to do with the person. It's everything to do with the race, both literally and figuratively.
Absolutely.
Do you feel that it is a term or a thing as Black privilege? Because now the people have flipped the script. Like, you all don't, you feel like you don't need to work for anything, and Blacks feel like someone owes them something. And to a certain extent, we are owed everything. We have not owed to a certain extent that we feel like we don't have to work and we can be lazy or whatever.
Right.
But we have been through as a culture, as a people, and there are things that have affected us from moving forward. So for those who say you live off the government, or this whole stereotype of you just don't do anything,
Right.
you're lazy. Let's talk about
Or
that
you
a
play
little
the
bit.
race card.
Or
But
you
I'll
play
tell
the
you,
race
you
card.
wouldn't have to play the race card if the race card didn't exist. If you had a
Correct.
hand of cards and there wasn't a race card in there, you would have no race card to play.
Yeah.
I know. I get
What,
fired
Eric?
up about this.
Well, I mean,
I know
yeah,
you
'cause-
like talking about,
I mean,
you
she
like talking
fired-
about Black issues.
she fired up, so I'm like, let her
Let her talk about the
Go
Black
ahead.
issues.
Go right ahead. Go, just let it-
We
let it go.
actually feel like that's where the change lies. See, that's where the change is going to take place with the truth coming out.
And I love
We
that.
just got to make it happen.
I love it, Jill. Let me just say this, because a lot of times we think the race issue is our responsibility. We did not put this upon ourselves.
No.
It is our wonderful Caucasian brothers and sisters. It's also their responsibility to fight for equality,
That's
for
right.
justice, because this is something that we didn't do to ourselves.
That's right.
Not taking any responsibility, but this
is true.
It just is.
Right,
So,
right. And I'll tell you what's sad is, when a white person decides to the things that I have heard that I never thought I would hear, and not just me, but my other friends who, participate in things that, to help other people that just so happen to be Black. All of a sudden, you are a N lover. You are this. You are that. And I will tell you, that is why a lot of people who want to help do not help. Because not only do these people hate Black people because they're Black, but now they hate you as a white person because you're sitting next to a Black person and you happen to love Black people who have become your family. So the hate is very real. It sounds great to say, we need change. This white person is telling all the other white folk what to do. But at the end of the day, a lot of those people don't like me because I'm simply sitting right here.
That's
we
right.
need
And it
our
was
Black
back.
brothers and sisters. We need them.
We
Excuse
do.
me, Ms. V,
No,
to
you're
speak
fine.
up. We need a balance. I need to
Yes.
speak up for you. If
If that
on
happens.
the other hand,
Yep.
That's
if
right.
if someone was killing your sons and daughters, we're riding for
Right.
you.
That's
Right.
right.
It's
Absolutely.
Because that's what good people
that's
do,
what good
regardless of
people
their
do,
color.
regardless of their color.
And that's why I was going to say, even back in slavery time, there were white people that were
Right.
helping with, with a lot of things, even the Underground Railroad. So,
Right.
yeah. So we had some Jills back then.
Yes. Yeah. Now,
She fired up, you know?
she's fired up. She's
Yeah.
fired up.
Always.
Firecracker, pow.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. What do we need to do, not just to talk, but walk it out? We've had so many, and this could be the last question, and Miss Jill, we're going to let her go. But what do we need to do? What can we tell the people that are listening? What can they do to further unity in our world, in our community? We didn't talk about neighborhood and community. That's something that we definitely need to hone in on.
Well, and that's it. That kind of goes with what you're saying right now. So connecting our people, that whole, not social discrimination, but just bringing each other,
Right.
to the right place. I'm
Right.
saying bringing that person to the table and saying, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's talk, and looking out for one another. So,
Right.
it has to
I
start
agree.
there. And, you can't say it better than Michael Jackson with the man in the mirror. I mean, you have to
Yeah.
you have to start with the man in the mirror and ask him to change his ways or her ways.
Like I said earlier, you got to be the change you want to see.
You do.
I mean, that's the easiest and I think that's the only way we can do it as a community. If you want something different, you want a different change, you want a different outlook, you got to start by being that different outlook, being that different change, being that different person
Yes.
in order to reach out. Because the people I hang with, I can influence that next person to do
Right.
the
That's
same thing, and they can influence the next person, and we have to be able to influence each other in a positive way,
positive way.
and always speak life into each other. That's one of the biggest things in our community that we do not do. We do not a lot of times speak life into each other. If I got 20-inch rims on my truck, who he think he is? Well,
Right,
hey, I go to
already.
work every day, so I'm busting my butt to get these 20s. Instead of saying, hey, E, them 20s look nice.
Nice rims.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Right.
That jealousy and envy.
Yeah,
and we
jealousy and
hold it
envy.
with
Yeah.
praise, and it's okay. Why would I not say Jill looks great today? Miss
Yes.
B is so talented.
Yes.
Eric he's spitting that knowledge. Why wouldn't I give you that?
And First
It's not
Lady
taken
looks
away
so
from me. We're-
beautiful too.
Thank you. Jill. But and what is it taking
Yeah.
away from each
Absolutely.
other?
Right.
I know.
What is it taking away? So
I know.
yeah.
Yeah. So we got to do better.
Yeah,
we
do.
do.
Okay.
We
All
need
around.
to.
Yeah.
All around. Man.
We're
Well, this
ready
is a
for-
start. The conversation is happening right now
Yeah.
at the table. So
Yes,
Jill, and I know she about to
All
blow
right.
it away.
Okay.
So go ahead and do
The
your
world,
thing.
the world at times seems full of hate, but it's love that makes us grow. But I would ask of many of you, how do you fear or hate a person that you don't even know? A person you have never met, a person that you steer clear of because of the things you have been told, because of the things that you hear of. You lock your car door in a neighborhood because of skin, not because of an experience or a situation that you have ever been in. You say, I don't see color and I have Black friends. That's where racism starts, but it's not where it ends. We are raising children, telling them to love one another. Yet we pick and choose based off the color of skin, who we call sister, who we call brother. Get over slavery, they say. It was abolished, reformed. My dear, nothing was abolished when reformed meant reborn. If we could put ourselves into the shoes of others to see how we would react, I am guessing there would be many of us who wouldn't survive a single day of being Black. I say to my beautiful brown skinned brothers and sisters, there are those who stand with you, they love you, and while they may not feel your hurt, they acknowledge it, they get you. Hating skin color is contempt for God's divine creative imagination. Honoring it is appreciation for conscious, beautiful, love-inspired diversity. Never minimize who you are to fit in with those very people who have made it their intention to minimize you. It is not your duty and should never be your goal to prove that you are not what society has deemed you to be. It instead is up to those who choose to believe society without ever being in the same room with the very people that they have grown to fear and perceive as a threat. We are in the midst of a beautiful table being built, a table that all who love are welcome to sit at. Because let's be real, there are those who will never want you to sit with them, and it's time to say, we don't want to.
Wonderful. Well,
I didn't get more than applause.
I mean,
Yeah.
that was just, that was well put.
That was.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I know you wrote that from your heart.
You
too.
know I
That's
did.
That's what matters, you know? Thank you, baby.
Well, this has been an amazing show, an amazing time. Thank you so much for joining us on Neutral Voices and the gang. We just appreciate you. Again, you can still share this video. Make sure that you are in on the conversation because your voice matters. I want you to have a wonderful night. We'll talk to you soon.
This is Neutral Voices, we gon' deal with the issues. Your voice matters, your thoughts count, your opinion's important, so you gotta speak.